Yesterday, Cenk flew into a rant, which was very hilarious to watch, and many people compared him with Alex Jones with a tan, because the rant was very similar in presentation to what Alex Jones does. And it was a particular job at Tim Pool, or how I like to call him, Mini Beanie. So, if you want a refresher, here it is.
The reason Tim Pool wears a beanie is because he's trying to contain the pedophilia that's in his head. That's why he's always talking about it. He's seeing it everywhere. Why? Because he's projecting.
Now, today, Cenk responded to the viral clip of his, which has got almost 1 million views and is still getting a lot of traction. And he is upset that the clipper left out the overwhelming evidence of right-wing pedophiles. In other words, he is upset that there isn't additional context being presented. Now, I have watched the Young Turks for years, and I do know that they themselves do not provide additional context in many situations. And I like to learn the negative aspects of certain businesses, so I do not put them here on this channel, and as such, I will provide you guys with more context. During the pandemic, I remember some articles flying around with teachers being very concerned that now parents are going to be exposed to what the teacher is promoting at school. Because the kids now have to stay home and do online schooling while the parents also couldn't go to their workplace. So now the exposure happened. And the teachers were right to be concerned because many parents were horrified on some of the stuff that their kids were being taught. As such, the parents went to the school boards in order to voice their concerns, and initially they were being threatened with the FBI, making accusations that some parents are terrorists, and that didn't sit well with people, so more parents got involved. And as people got involved, the stuff was coming out. For example, certain books which were pornographic in nature to the point that I wouldn't even be able to reproduce them on YouTube, but I'm pretty sure you guys have seen the viral clips where a parent would go to a school board and start reading from one of those books, and the teachers would tell them to stop, right? Like the book wasn't fine for a parent to read in front of the teacher union board, but it was fine to be taught in class. And then is the famous drag kid story hour, which bothered a lot of people. And the problem that the left has with this, I do not think necessarily it's about drag queens or anything like that. The main issue of concern is the delegitimization of the institution. Because right-wingers, they care a lot about family units, like their friends and their families. Meanwhile, the left cares a lot about institutions. So the experts, the teachers, they need to be treated with a level of reverence, if you will. Like, they're the only ones that know best. So if you're going to criticize the teacher that what he is teaching to your kid is not okay, then you're delegitimizing the institution, you're tarnishing the name. So because of this, left-wing academics and influencers decided to manipulate the issue and to make it seem that actually it's people that are against the LGBTQ community. It's not about that there are people who are against this type of teaching practices, and they do not want their kids to be exposed to these types of queer theories at school. No, it's just the LGBTQ community. And when part of the LGBTQ community, there were the gays against groomers, I believe, right? They were severely punished by PayPal, by other activist groups, because, again, it goes against the narrative. And the narrative is that the parents are bigoted, the right-wingers are bigoted. All of this controversy is happening because of Matt Walsh and Tucker Carlson, and it's not because parents were legitimately concerned. So this is where we're at, right? Like, this is why the Young Turks is going after Tim Pool, because Tim Pool was concerned about the drag kid story hour, and he made a video about it. And the Young Turks had to respond, which is the classical, I guess, like, left-wing mainstream thought, which is happening. And they say, well, why are you upset about the schools? Why don't you care about the Catholic Church? Why don't you care about these other politicians? And the answer is very simple. People do care about the Catholic Church. I remember there was a massive scandal. I know Catholic Christians that were livid about it. Like, I don't know a single person, and please correct me if you guys happen to know a single person, which tried to obfuscate and defend the church in that situation. I literally don't know. Like, even the Pope himself went like, okay, well, we need to look into this. We need to find out what happened. Like, he worked with the authorities. I'm talking about the current Pope. Right? Like, no one was obfuscating the issue. No one was saying, well, there's no problem. Let's talk about something else. And while we're on the subject, is the Catholic Church really right-wing? I mean, I'm not talking about the church as an institution, not the believers. Although Joe Biden, for example, is a proud Catholic, allegedly, and many other left-wing Democrats are Catholics. But, like, the church as an institution. Like, let's see, the Pope is pro-open borders. He is for mass immigration. He is for welfare. He is starting to be very open-minded when it comes about gay people. Like, what exactly is the Pope doing that would make you say that, yeah, well, he is very conservative, he's very right-wing, and this institution is right? Like, many Catholics that I know are really bewildered of the fact that the Pope is in line with every single progressive agenda. Again, besides abortions, and this is due to the fact that it would actually cause a schism in the church, which is something that he is trying to avoid. But I'm pretty sure that, if you are in a room with the Pope and you press him on the issue, his personal views on the matter might be very interesting. If you talk about Jeffrey Epstein, like, from what I know, people on the right and the left wanted to investigate further. Like, that's what was happening. Like, there were reporters from the New York Times, and there were people on the right, and they were both saying, like, oh, the suicide is very suspicious, and, like, what do you mean the cameras weren't working, and, like, why weren't the guards there, why was he taken off suicide? Like, all of these people were asking the questions, and they wanted to get to the bottom of it. When the judge decided to seal the clients from the Maxwell case, people were livid. I mean, the concept that Jeffrey Epstein was, like, working with all of these rich people, and he was doing human trafficking, so, like, he was trafficking children to whom? Like, you have a person arrested for trafficking children to nobody, right? Like, people were livid. This is literally the only time that I can think of where people are concerned about, like, why are children involved in, like, drag story hour or whatever, and people are like, oh, why are you talking about this? Because it's concerning for parents. That's why they're talking about this. Like, at the end of the day, this is the primordial essence of the discussion. Are parents allowed to decide what their children should be taught? Yes or no? The left believes no, that the teacher is the supreme being, and only, we have reached the level in humanity where parents have been educating their kids for thousands of years, and that was wrong, because now only the government can approve a person, a teacher, to educate your children. Like, no other possibility exists. This is the human level of perfection. And I am willing to believe that if the government would hire an army of people to teach children how to walk. So, like, whenever your kid is of the age where he starts walking, you'd have to take him to a place where a government employee would teach them how to walk. In 10, maybe 20 years, people would believe that human beings cannot walk without the help of those government servants. Like, that is the mentality that people are having, right? Like, I go on Twitter and I see individuals saying that, oh, well, a patient doesn't get to tell a doctor how to do their job. Why does a parent get to tell their teacher? And first of all, that's not correct, right? Like, you can go to different doctors and you can pick the doctor you like. But secondly, to be a surgeon is something that requires a lot of training. Like, if you take a random person off the street and you ask them to perform surgery, even if it's something very simple, they will not know how to do it. But to be a teacher, it's something that people have done through thousands of years. Parents have been educating their children for thousands of years. There are people who can homeschool their kids, and then the kid goes and takes an exam and can get a good grade just like anyone else who's a teacher. Right? Like, I'm not saying that the job as a teacher doesn't have a place, because obviously a person with more free time, and as you teach more children, you gain more experience, but come the fuck on, it's not comparable, even remotely. And at the end of the day, I firmly believe that, yes, parents should be able to decide what their kids are going to learn. Because the children are, at the end of the day, tied to their parents. It's a biological connection. I do not believe that they're tied to the state, especially to the teacher. And one more homework for Cenk Uygur. Look at the statistics. Look at how many kids were molested by the Catholic Church and compare them to how many kids were molested by the teachers. And compare those numbers to see how many kids were molested in schools by their teachers. And by the way, female teachers count as well. I know that the Young Turks had several segments where they found it funny when a man got raped by a woman. But that was back ago, maybe they changed their mind on it. Still, I don't think it's funny. Like, a lot of people, even South Park, at one point had this episode where it was nice. A child got molested by a female teacher and the police were like, nice, nice. I don't think it would be nice if it was your kid and he ends up impregnating the teacher when he's like 13 years old. And then you have to pay child support while the teacher is arrested. I don't think that is nice. It's not funny, by the way. Let me know what you guys think, though, and I'll see you in the comment section. Take care.